Imagine this. You're at a farmer's market with your kids, celebrating your daughter's birthday. She runs off to buy sweets. But when you finally find her, she's cornered by 6 grown women from your ex-in-law's church, screaming at her, calling her a bad sister, and demanding she obey her dead father's parents. And when you think it can't get worse, you find out your ex-mother-in-law has been telling the entire church that you are the reason your daughters are heartless, unchristian monsters. What would you do? If you've ever dreamed of standing up to people who hide behind lies, family, or even religion, hit that like button right now. Subscribe, because today's story isn't just about revenge. It's about truth, justice, and watching manipulators burn under the very spotlight they tried to shine on someone else. I'm a 46-year-old mom of 2 teenage daughters, 17 and 15. Their father, my ex-husband, died suddenly last year in an accident. But let me be clear, his death didn't erase the mess he left behind. Because before he died, I found out he'd been cheating. And not just cheating, he had 2 sons with his affair partner. Both he and the affair partner died in the same accident, leaving those boys orphaned. Now, imagine this from my daughter's perspective. They're grieving. They're angry. They're traumatized. They were the ones who discovered their dad's betrayal. They were the ones who told me. And now, on top of that, their grandparents, my ex's parents, decided to make them the villains of the story. They tried to take custody of my daughters. They even tried to force those boys, children of the affair, into our household. We said no. Absolutely not. Fast forward to my youngest daughter's birthday weekend. I take her to the farmer's market, give her a little budget, and tell her, go spoil yourself. Buy whatever sweets and treats you want. She runs off. An hour later, no sign of her. My heart starts pounding. Just as I'm about to call her, my phone rings. She's sobbing. Mom, some weird people cornered me. I rush over with my older daughter. And there she is. My baby. Surrounded by 6 older women, all from my ex-in-law's church. They're pointing fingers in her face, calling her unchristian, screaming that she needs to be a good big sister to her poor orphaned baby brothers, insisting she's heartless for not spending time with her grandparents. I froze for half a second, my blood boiling so hot I swear my ears were ringing. Then something inside me snapped. I shoved myself between them and my daughter. I looked my eldest straight in the eye and said, take your sister. Pay for what she picked. Go to the car. Then I turned to those women, some of whom I used to know back when we went to that church. And I unleashed. I don't remember every word I said, but I remember how my voice shook. Not with fear, but with fury. They shouted back that I was worse than my daughter. That I was supposed to obey my ex-in-laws like a good Christian wife. Excuse me. My husband cheated. He's dead. I owe these people nothing. The shouting grew so loud we were all thrown out of the market. But those vultures didn't stop. They followed me to my car, screaming, jeering, circling like hyenas. I barely managed to get my girls into the car and slam the doors shut. That night, after putting my girls to bed, I logged onto Facebook. And there it was. My ex-mother-in-law's masterpiece. A giant post in the church group, painting me and my daughters as monsters. She wrote that we abandoned her and her husband. That we were heartless. That we left them homeless and penniless. That we were cruel to the poor orphan boys. And worst of all, she twisted the truth into a full-blown soap opera, saying the affair partner was actually our surrogate. That those boys were mine and my ex's, but that I rejected them because they were boys. I nearly threw up reading it. How dare she? And the comments, the support she was getting from that church community, the pity, the bless you for your strength. It was disgusting. But here's the funny thing about that church. They're hypocritical on a lot of things, especially LGBTQ+ issues. But you know what they're fanatical about? Cheating. Man or woman. Doesn't matter. If you cheat, you are filth. And my ex-mother-in-law had managed to spin her sob story without mentioning the truth. Because if the truth came out, if people knew her son was a cheater, their entire narrative would collapse. That's when the idea hit me. And suddenly, I wasn't just angry. I was excited. The next day, I went to a print shop. And I paid good money, extra, even, for high-quality prints of every single piece of evidence I had. Photos of my ex making out with his affair partner, in our living room. Screenshots of their texts. Messages where his parents admitted they knew and even supported the affair. Emails where my ex-in-laws bullied my daughters, calling them bastards. And the cruelest one, blaming my daughters for their father's death, just 2 days after he died. Once everything was printed, I spent hours crafting something beautiful. I put it all into binders that looked just like the church's hymn booklets. I even gave them a cover page. Ex's name, and affair partner's name, a love story. And on the very first page, a full-color photo of the two of them making out. That Sunday, I walked into the church. I didn't say a word. I just slipped my binders onto the back table where the hymn books always go. Then I left. The gossip mill exploded. People flipped open what they thought was a hymn book and instead found my ex's dirty laundry in full Technicolor. Facebook lit up. The names my ex and his affair partner got called? So filthy even the pastor had to step in and beg people to tone it down. And my ex-in-laws? They were finished. People turned on them. Not just because of the affair, but because of what they did to my daughters. Suddenly, their poor orphan narrative didn't hold up. They weren't sympathetic grandparents. They were accomplices. They were bullies. Apologies started trickling in. Letters in the mail. Invitations to return to the church for support. Not that I'd ever accept. And my ex-in-laws? They left the church in shame. My ex-mother-in-law tried one last Facebook post, complaining about how no one cares for the elderly anymore. But no one bought it. Her golden boy was gone. Her reputation was ruined. And for once, my daughters had the last laugh. That moment, imagining those binders being opened, one after another, during Sunday service, was the most satisfying thing I've ever done. Every whispered insult, every sideways glance my daughters endured, it all crumbled the second the truth was laid bare. My daughters didn't need to scream, or cry, or defend themselves. The evidence spoke louder than anything. And it silenced everyone. Sometimes revenge isn't about screaming back. Sometimes, it's about holding up a mirror and letting people see themselves for what they really are. And believe me, my ex-in-laws didn't like what they saw. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button. Tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen someone pull off? And of course, subscribe, because there are plenty more stories where this came from.